Ave Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. As Jesus was leaving Jericho with his disciples and a sizable crowd, Bartimaeus, a blind man, the son of Timaeus, sat by the roadside begging. On hearing that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, "Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me." And many rebuked him, telling him to be silent. But he kept calling out all the more, "Son of David, have pity on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." So they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take courage, get up. Jesus is calling you." He threw aside his cloak, sprang up, and came to Jesus. Jesus said to him in reply, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man replied to him, "Master, I want to see." Jesus told him, "Go your way. Your faith has saved you." Immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you.
Jesus is an underemployed guide for the blind. And we need to be about putting him to work in our own lives, in our families, in our parish. We need a guide who truly sees. We need a guide to lead us through days of darkness and lead us into the kingdom of light. We began the rite of welcoming this morning for the RCIA. These candidates have taken Jesus on as their guide. They should send an alarm off in all of us. What am I doing about employing Jesus Christ as my guide? Because there is so much blindness. Bartimaeus does what we all should be doing. He cries out. It's a prayer for help. It's a prayer for faith. It's a prayer. Perhaps the best way to begin Jesus' employment for us is to get on our knees and ask for mercy. Bartimaeus cries out while he's in the depths of poverty and blindness, in a darkness, and yet he cries out. Where everybody becomes a skeptic, he cries out for Jesus. "Son of David, have pity on me." Yes, he's in need of a guide, and ironically, this is the only guy in the room who sees. Because he's calling Jesus Son of David, the title of the Messiah. He gets it. He knows where the salvation is, and he wants a piece of it. Many rebuke him, we're told. These are the voices of darkness that sow the seeds of skepticism, suspicion, and doubt. You could even say it's part of the demonic. So nefarious to bring us into negativity and cover our eyes with a gloom and a darkness. But Bartimaeus cries out even more. Bartimaeus sees the need to pray. He sees the need to call on Jesus. He's persistent and he's intent. I want to see. Do you? Would you be so persistent? Do you want to be so persistent? Perhaps we may even start simply by saying, God, give me the grace to do it. All these people rebuking him, Jesus stops and he pierces through the crowd of the rebukers and he calls Bartimaeus. But not only does he call Bartimaeus, he says to the people, call him. You call him. You help do something. So he turns the naysayers into a community that calls for assistance in bringing somebody to the light. A community that delights in the possibility of having another person guided through the darkness of covidity. Jesus silences their bickering and unifies the assembly to help everybody see. Call. He is taking full advantage of his crowd, this assembly. Can you see Jesus in this assembly? Can you hear him saying, be welcoming, be charitable, be opening to the doors of faith? Take courage, Jesus says. Take courage. The community says, take courage. Isn't that what we should be about doing? Building each other up in courage. Telling each other, you're not alone. There's a group here. There's a communion here. There's a community here. He's calling to you, Bartimaeus. He wants you. In a sense, we're all Bartimaeus, and we all need encouragement. Bartimaeus then says, Master, I want to see. He calls Jesus Master. In other words, he's figured out that Jesus is the one. Jesus is the only one who can guide him through this blindness. Jesus is the one who gives vision. Jesus is the one who gives a celestial vision, but yet a realistic vision to the vision of the earth that begs us to wait, to close our eyes to the vision of the world, and yet one day to open them to the vision of the glory of God in heaven. Jesus is the only one to be our guide. Jesus is the one to bring the light in the darkness. Jesus is the one to lift the oppressive COVID virus and the oppression it brings. Jesus is the one who takes the sins away from the world. And so Jesus says to Bartimaeus, your faith has saved you. Go on your way. It's an invitation to go away. Almost like that rich man a couple weeks ago. He went away. Jesus is baiting Bartimaeus. Go on your way. Bartimaeus now sees. Oh no, there's no other place I want to be. There's nowhere else I would rather go with my Jesus. Bartimaeus begins first by spiritually recovering his sight, because this fixation he has to stay with Jesus takes place before his sight is returned. So he receives the light in faith. He receives the guide for all those who are blind. And so Bartimaeus immediately follows Jesus on the way. And as he's going now, he is cured. Oh, how we need to be guided by the light of Christ. Oh, how we need to keep that light of baptism from becoming extinguished. Oh, how we need Jesus to guide us into prayer and the light of prayer. Oh, how we need Jesus to guide us with the sight of gathering Sunday after Sunday so that we can gaze on the glory and the majesty of God our Father. So we become guides for others who are conscious of the need that a community of vision and faith and true sight must be nurtured. That Jesus guides us in word and in sacrament. That the light of the Eucharist penetrates the hearts of even the most sluggish. He guides us at the Mass, and we worship in spirit and truth because of light from light and true God from true God. Jesus guides us in the Eucharist, in his body, his blood, his soul, and his divinity. And he guides us in reconciliation, where we come upon the truth of our sinfulness and fall at the mercy of his guiding light, to enlighten our soul where it has become darkness, to enlighten our hearts and make them free of hate and redeem them for love. Oh, how we need to talk and walk with Jesus, our guide for the blind. Oh, how we need to employ Jesus as our guide on the way, the truth, and the life.
Regina Celi, letare, alleluia, qui aquam merum isti portare, alleluia, resurrexit sicut dixit, alleluia.